Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start. So, hello and good morning from San Diego. It's a much darker place right now than you guys. It's 6:05 this morning. So I'm glad I can be able to be here with you guys. I know you already had probably an hour of training or workshop, which is great. Um, so it's nice and bright and early for you guys, and we're starting with K-1 today, and we're going to talk about some of the writing skills that you guys have been practicing and talk about some of the updates that we've done at Literacy TA since we have met last, which was just at the end of last year. I think all of you are able to see the agenda. I sent that out. It is a Google Doc, and on that agenda, I have a link to the recorded broadcast, which is going to be the K-1 now. Instead of it being black letter font, it's now blue. So when this training is over, you'll be able to go back and watch what we do. And then the live link, of course, you were able to access that. That's how you're on today. We have a pretty tight agenda. We have four things that we are going to do. The first is recap the writing process and talk about what that process looks like and kind of remind us about the steps in that process. Then updates to Literacy TA. We're really excited about the new updates. In fact, we just made a few of them over the weekend just for you guys. I talked to Lee about creating something unique for you guys, something special that you would like, and so we finished that, so I'm glad. And then school membership is something that I'll talk to you about today as an additional layer of support that we're providing for Literacy TA, and then you guys will have a little bit of planning. So we're excited about the direction that we're headed in the district. We're very, very confident that the work that you guys are doing is going to make and is making an impact on student achievement. With K-1, as we've talked about before in the past, a lot of this is just modeling for students what writing is, what it looks like, how to produce a coherent thought through writing. Up until this point, speaking has been pretty much the #1 mode that they use to communicate ideas, and now we're making this major shift for them into writing. And so for a lot of them that don't have practice, writing is a very new experience. There's a lot of issues with control of subject matter, control of the English language, being able to articulate in a way that I can read your handwriting, for one, or I can understand what you're saying. There's new words, there's words they want to use they can't spell. There's all kinds of things that happen when we talk about writing in K-1. But what's important is that they're constantly being exposed to the kinds of writing that we want to see ideally as they leave us in first grade and then they move into grade 2 and 3, grades 2 and 3. So some of the things that we offer at Literacy TA, from if you step back, might be challenging. It might seem like, wow, that seems just out of context for what the challenges that we have and the tasks that we give our kids. But one thing about Literacy TA is that we are all about challenging students. We're all about making sure that we set the bar just above and make sure that we walk them or help them get there. When you look at your standards, it always says with guidance and support, and I think that's what's important for us to know, that we're not expecting students to craft these amazing paragraphs and then be able to peer review them without any guidance and support. You guys are their anchor. K-1 teachers are the anchor for these kids, and what we just want to make sure that the kids are doing, though, is being exposed to the different types of writing. For example, they're being exposed to the fact that you do make mistakes in writing and that you, as a writer, a very, very young writer, can go back and fix some of those mistakes. And that planning is so important to organizing your writing. Instead of you just sitting and just writing whatever you think is organized, actually going through a plan. And I know that all of you guys do this in different shades and colors. And I'm hoping that Literacy TA is providing some sort of consistency, if anything, just about the consistency of having a process and taking the students through that process every time and valuing that process so that kids get it over and over again. And then by second grade, students should be able to recall that process and start thinking about how that process supports and helps them as they become more and more independent, even though there's a lot of guidance at the lower second grade and third grade levels. Okay, so recapping with writing, we've talked about the writing process multiple times. The first time was when we were all together live, and your coaches in your district walked you through the different processes, and we looked at the different skills and supports. And then we went online and we did some more work with the processes, and it was a couple of days worth of online training. So I'm not going to belabor it, but I do want to talk about it. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over and share my screen with you. So you're going to see the agenda. And just for information, I provided a little bit of context on the agenda. Hopefully some of you were able to read that. But it's just kind of a summary of some of the work that we've done in the last 8 months. And it's kind of interesting to know how involved you guys have been and how much depth we have gone with this work. So this is just another layer. It's exciting, and I thought that context might be a good thing, just to remind us where we've been and what sorts of things we've accomplished already. So I'm going to go ahead and jump over to Literacy TA. And on Literacy TA, of course, you've got your navigation. And I know, maybe it's a good time to talk about the online piece. I know that you guys are not, at least at your grade level, are not heavy website presentation. I know that your delivery is different and you need different tools in the classroom. But think about Literacy TA as more of a planning tool than a teaching presentation tool. For me, in middle school, I rely heavily on digital displays. But at K-1, you might rely on different types, flip chart paper, whiteboards, document cameras, but you might not have websites that you teach from. And that's okay. Absolutely fine. So think about how you can use this website then as a planning tool or a teaching tool that happens before the kids come to class, and then how you can use your flip chart paper and your different types of tools in your classroom to support this. So for example, something that all of you are starting to learn who Lauren Garrison is, but my fiance and also a first grade teacher now is teaching third grade. When she teaches text structure, at least when she was doing it in first grade, she took parts of a text and enlarged them and then put them on chart paper, and had students sit on the carpet with the chart paper with these text features pasted onto the chart paper, and she walked students through what these different text features were, like maps and captions, and she wrote little notes next to them, and the students were helping her identify what these captions were. And it was great work, and the kids were very comfortable in that format. She was comfortable in that format. It gave her control of the content. So just think about ways that you can use Literacy TA, K-1 analyzing text structure, or identifying text features is what it's called, and how you can bring that out into the classroom in a different way than projecting it on the screen, because it might not work projecting on the screen the way it's designed. And so you're going to need to rely on what works for you and the tools that you use. So at Literacy TA, you're going to go to the skill library, right? And then in the skill library, this is where you can go in to get your reading nonfiction, reading fiction, and then the writing center. So I'm going to click on the writing center, and then I'm going to click on K-1. And this on the left-hand side is what we've been talking about for the majority of our time together. We've been talking about the three-step writing process. And we've talked about the importance of planning and writing, and a lot of this is going to be visual. A lot of the writing that your students are going to be doing is picture-heavy, which is great. But those pictures and those captions that accompany those pictures can also be edited and peer-reviewed, and then they can be published in many different ways. So just getting them exposed to that process of developing something, reworking it, rethinking about it, and then getting it ready for display, whether it be for your classroom walls, a class book, getting it ready for even a small group presentation, just the polishing, the third rethinking of the text and what it might need to get better is a great thing for kids. Now, we've encouraged you, and I'll talk more about this when we talk about the school membership, but we've encouraged you guys to take handouts like this and turn them into posters. So this is our writing process, and we make this a visually pleasing handout because we want this to eventually hang on your walls. We want this to be visible for your students, even if it's just in a work area. A writing section would be great in the classroom, a writing corner, or if you wanted to make this into a much larger poster that you can reference from afar, you could do that as well. But this is the steps 1, 2, and 3, and it's always anchored right underneath the steps that are on the web page itself. So when you go to the Writing Center, we have our different age tabs, right, our grade bands, and then you click on K-1, and then you can see the writing process. And for some of you, you know, right now you're just getting your kids accustomed to writing a few things. You're not really taking them through a process. Some of you have. You're kind of all over, I would imagine. So think about how you can start in your newest writing task that you're thinking about it or you're getting ready to write. Think about how you can use this resource here to teach them the different parts. And even if they don't understand completely what you mean by planning and writing or reading and editing, it's okay that they don't know every detail that you're talking about. It's all about the exposure. It's all about getting them exposed to this idea that writing doesn't just happen at one sitting, that there's a process to it. So this takes us to, since I'm here on this part of the website, this takes us to our new updates, which I'm really, really excited about. If you look just to the right on the screen, you're going to see something that might look familiar. What we do is we put our writing skills next to the steps so that you know how to teach each step in the process. But what you may notice is that this used to have 3 different writing types. So there was narrative, informational writing, and then opinion writing, and then editing, marks, and peer review. What we've done is we've updated this section to fit or parallel the reading section. So if you look over on the top right side, you're going to see this drop down. And now, for the first time, you guys can choose different writing types. So we default to narrative because we know that that's going to be probably the most frequently used writing type in K-1. Then we have informational, we have opinion, compare and contrast, and then a beginning, middle, and end. And this is by no means the only writing types that exist for K-1, but these are some high-frequency writing types that are also directly related to your standards. So if I click on compare and contrast, what happens is that now you have a compare and contrast organizer. The informational writing plan comes up, and then you have your editing marks and your peer review.
Yeah, if I sit here and hold it the whole time, it's look. Okay.
Hold on 1 second. Okay, perfect. And then if I click on opinion writing, now I've got my opinion writing plan. So the reason why we did this is because we wanted to give you a few more resources when appropriate. So for example, there's no graphic organizer that helps me compare and contrast here if I chose informational writing. So if you go more specifically and choose compare and contrast, you're going to have a graphic organizer for that thinking. If I want to do beginning, middle, and end, and I want to teach my students how to write about a process or the beginning of a story and work all the way to the end, there's a beginning, middle, and end planner, graphic organizer that you can use here. So this is just a bit more specific than what we had before, and it shows you, I think, in a more explicit way how all of these resources and skills come together for a specific writing type. So I'm very excited to offer this to you because I think that it enhances this section and makes it much easier to use and implement. So this is where I'm talking about this being more of a planning for you. So you might sit down and say, well, I want to, when I'm having my kids write about retelling a story, I'm going to have them start with this beginning, middle, and end. And you're going to get that handout out, and you can recreate it in flip chart paper. You can put it on your document camera. You can make photocopies and hand it to your kids. But at this point now, you're going to be probably using this website to plan. But if you didn't want to do that, you could click on beginning, middle, and end. And then you have extra resources when you click on beginning, middle, and end. You have cut and folds, which are interactive graphic organizers that you literally cut and fold. We don't come up with too silly of names. That's what you do with these. And then if you wanted a student activity to show up on your screen, you just click on it. And now you have this student activity, which can also be opened into Goodreader or any type of PDF writing document application. And then if you wanted to, as support or backup, you can have this on your screen as well. So then this is going to be your lesson support. So it says draw on a piece of paper, the graphic organizer, or fill in the handout, write a main idea, event, or step in each box. Be sure to record the events or process in order. So this gives you instructions already on how to complete this handout, and then you can go through with your students and do this with them. And then, of course, there's the Collaborate tool. So I would imagine with K-1, you're already in groups, but if you wanted to do random groups, you can give group size to 2, and you probably have, roughly 18 to 24 students. You assign those numbers. This is all in the Collaborate tool, and you can have them mix into random groups, which I really love. And then you can, for fun, pick a group randomly, pick a student randomly, or pick a student in a group randomly. So I really like this to create some different interest. May not be completely usable for kindergarten, but definitely grade 1 would I think, find use in this. And then you put the Collaborate tool away, and then you also have a timer. And the timer is here for pacing, so you can give them a certain amount of time. They can manage their own time and watch the screen. So this is all part of beginning, middle, and end. So you could just use it to plan, or you can use it to teach. And then there's a teacher reflection that's new as well. So those teams in Chatham County that are focused on thinking about your teaching, reflecting on your teaching practices, this is brand new to the website. And this is going to walk you through a series of questions that help you reflect on your teaching practices and what you did with your students. So let's say you did the beginning, middle, and end. Let's say that was your process. And you wanted to see how using that handout improved the work in your classroom, or you wanted to see what happened. You would answer these questions like, what did I observe my students doing? What have my students learned? How do I know that they've learned this? What worked? What went well? These are just really nice, I think, easy questions that don't dig too deep into what we do, but just ask us some things about our practice and what our kids did and how they responded. And I got to this by simply clicking on, under Assess and Track Growth, I just clicked on the teacher reflection. So this is a great tool for you as a team, grade level teams, or if you just independently wanted to use it, this is a fantastic resource for you. Okay, so when we go into, say, marking a task, and you want to teach them how to identify what they're reading for or what they're writing about, you're going to have the same resources that you've had. right? So you're going to be able to see, teach the skill. This is the teaching tool to get kids aware of what they're to do. And again, with guidance and support, right? So I would model for them how to circle verbs and which verbs to circle, and I would model for them how to underline what the verbs ask you to do, and not assume that students are going to do this on their own, that they're going to need me for my support. But all this is here for them, and look at what it looks like in the bottom. Summarize the main ideas in the story. If I have a number of tasks and students have marked them this way, I feel pretty good about myself. I feel good about this work. I feel good that I'm exposing my students to this type of close reading, even though, again, they might not know 100% of what this means and where it's going. You do, and that's what's important. You know what the importance behind this work is and how this helps students in the long run. Additionally, you start creating a common language that can vertically align. So as your students move from kindergarten to first and first to second and so on, the students are able to recognize that language. Today we're going to be marking our task or marking our prompt. And they say, you know what, I did that in my last teacher's class. We did that all the time. I love doing that. And that's the other piece, is you'll find that as you teach these skills and as you become more predictable in your learning routines, and the more you ask kids to do with the writing and the prompts and the reading, they're going to like it. They actually like the circling and underlining and the activity that these skills require. They enjoy it instead of run from it, which you know, some might expect, but they wouldn't like to do it. So this is how it's laid out for our writing process. And many of you, you know, again, we're coming at this at so many different comfort levels. Many of you have jumped in with both feet. Some of you are just now getting started with it. But wherever you are, the idea is that we want to keep talking about it. We want to keep working with it. And we want to bring this to our students as often as possible. The narrative story writing plan, right, is designed for you just to get ideas down. And what I've learned is that this is hard because they want to write the essay in this place right here. That they want to, the students want to start and finish the essay here. And one thing that's going to be hard for you as you teach them to use a planning tool like this is to get them to just say an idea or you know, name the noun that they're going to be talking about, the place they're going to be talking about, the person they're going to be talking about, and not the whole writing. You know, I've seen this come in where this is all completed, and it's like, wait, the whole little paragraph is all right here, instead of it just being a planning tool. So getting them to recognize that you can write just some short ideas without the whole thought, without all the details, is going to be a challenge. But it's something that's good. It's good work to do. It's a good challenge to have. And then, of course, they get to draw their ideas probably before they write. But some teachers like to do it opposite. Some teachers would rather the students get something down on paper and then draw it. And then the other side of the coin is teachers like to draw first because it gives them the ideas of what to write. So that's kind of the process in this. So and I know that there's been a number of questions about having these handouts in Spanish or translated in Spanish. And I think that we're trying to work with someone in your district who has the capacity and has the ability to translate some of these handouts. We're getting some information about the handouts need to be translated differently. It's not just a matter of turning this into Spanish, but they have to do different things. So we're just kind of waiting on what that looks like and what that might kind of translate into. So I know that there's been a couple of you in the district who have contacted us and asked us. We just need to continue to have that conversation. To be honest, there's not a huge demand in elementary for Spanish translated handouts on our end, but we're always willing to work with your district and always willing to make our resources better and make them more applicable. So that's what we're trying to do. So we also, on these different resources, you're going to find, remember when you click, let me go back because I took a little while in that one page, so I don't want you guys to get confused. When you go to the Writing Center and you click on K-1, and then up here in your drop-down now you need to choose opinion or informational writing, narrative writing. When you click on narrative writing and then you click on the plan, there's going to be even more resources to support you. So you've got your student activity, which I just went over. And then we have writing paper, right? So do you remember that? We've got the large writing paper and the small writing paper. And this is just for you to differentiate for your kids. Your kids are in different places. Then we have samples of the writing plan. And then we also have a rubric for language, and we have a rubric for the writing. And all of this is aligned to your state literacy standards. And you probably at this point have your own rubrics, but it's always good to take a look at other rubrics to see what other people are doing and to see what kind of language they're using. And so this is here. And then we also have a writing poster, which I think you're aware of as well. But this is the writing poster. So you guys have many of these resources in your Discover book, and there's some things here that you don't have. So it's good to know that you've got your hard copy in your K-1, and then you also have the online resource as well. So this is just a number of our different resources that we have for you. And then our planning journal, which for some of you is a really nice resource, and others of you are kind of like, you know, I don't need a planning journal, I'm fine. But what the planning journal does is it walks you through every aspect of teaching whatever it is that you want to teach, whichever skill. If you're teaching planning for writing or revising writing, it allows you to think about all the little things that you sometimes will pass over because there's just so much to consider. This will walk you through it, which is really nice, and it guides you to think about the different parts of a lesson, from what do I start with, to what materials do I need to gather, to what do I do with those 3 kids that I know are going to struggle with this, what can I do to support them, and then how do I know that this is going to work, what kind of assessments am I going to use. So this is our planning journal that looks the same for all of our skills. So this might be something that you would consider using even if you were writing with a team. It would be a great place to start, to jump in to get your writing plans going. So again, all of these resources are available when you just go into one of the skills. In this case, we're talking about the writing plan. Okay. I have a knack for speaking. I can just talk. So what are some of the things that you would like to share with all of us? Are there things that you've tried that you've really enjoyed, things that you would like to know more about, or something that you've been looking for and can't find, or you've heard me say it and you want to know more about it but you just haven't had the opportunity? You guys can unmute your mics, or you can type in the chat if there's something you would like to ask or there's something you'd like to talk about. And then I'll wait silently, so don't feel awkward if there's nothing to listen to. It's just me waiting. Okay, I will try to respond to any questions or thoughts in the chat as they come up. And I will just look, and if you're just now starting, that's fine. You can add information. I can just blend it right into what I'm saying. I think that's no problem at all. And if there's something specific, I'll just kind of wait until it's the right time to talk about it. So one of the resources that we have to support the writing process is our prompt builder, and we've talked about it before. There's two ways to get to it. You can go up to the navigation. This might be new too, actually. We took out the tools out of our Common Core section, and we now just have them in tools. Instead of you having to go into Common Core, which that section has been renamed and re-envisioned, and I'll share that with you as well. But if you click on Tools, you can see our writing prompt builder, text complexity meter, and then nonfiction source reference, right? So the writing prompt builder, when you click on it, it will take you to this place that you, I'm sure, have seen and are aware of, where you can build prompts. So you can click on elementary, you can click on fiction or nonfiction, and then you can choose different standards, and then you can get templates for those different standards. So researching an animal, for example, and then if you are writing about the main idea, right, and then you can always manipulate these. So you can change the language, you can reduce the amount of language, you can change the vocabulary, you can add the text title. So this is a great resource when planning out your lessons to give you some ideas and also to give you some prompts to get started with. So this is a great resource for writing, again, on the teacher end, right? So this is your prompt or task builder at Literacy TA. And then you also have standards. So in our standards section, this has changed as well in a couple of different ways. So our standards section now has this picture of the United States, and you can click on your state, and it will take you to your individual standards, which is really, really cool. This is new. I think this is new to all of you. You haven't seen this yet. So instead of having the Common Core section, which is over here on the right-hand side, we now have your literacy standards in our system, and your lesson plans now follow your standards. So if I click on North Carolina, and you have these very large cubes, reading, writing, speaking, listening, and language, you can access by just clicking on the links here, or you can say, I want to look at writing, and I am a first grade teacher. See this? So writing first grade, and I press go, and now this is your first grade standards, and here are your skills to support each of the different standards. And on the right-hand side, we have eCoach posts that are related to the work that's being talked about here in the middle. So these are previous eCoach posts that are blog that relate to the standard and or relate to the skills. So it's kind of a great place for you to go to get resources for reading, writing, and speaking. So I see that Leanne asked about, I think it was peer review. So in peer review, that's going to be where the standard talks about, getting kids to write and then rethink about their writing and ask questions and get peers to give you information, which is W5 here. And that you're going to see peer review right here. So you've got with guidance and support from adults, focus on the topic, respond to questions, suggestions, and strength that writing is needed. So this here is all about improving writing. And so now you have editing marks, and then of course you have your plans. So why are plans here? Well, your plans improve writing because they help with organization. And then peer review groups. So if you click on peer review groups, it will take you to your K-1 peer review groups. And then this is where the video is, and then you've got the diagram, the tasks, the samples, and then if you wanted to teach the students through more scaffolding how to analyze text structure that they're writing with beginning, middle, and end, you can use this structure paper. And what you would do with this is you would have the students write their writing here. They would write their opinion pieces or informational. They would use this lined paper, and then they could color in these circles or half circles depending on the text structure. And if you're going, well, I'm not sure what he means by depending on the text structure, if you click on the tasks, beginning is green, middle is purple, and end is red. So then over on this page, wherever the beginning is, I would color in the green. And then when it starts to go into the middle, I would color in purple. And at the end, the last sentence, the concluding sentence, I would color it in red. And so that's what this is all about, is getting them to recognize where the parts of their writing begins and ends through a way of coloring and recognizing it in kind of a safe environment that's fun for the kids. So these are our tasks. So that's kind of a really, really cool resource, is that you could go through the standards section and find the skills. So if you want to do this for reading, you click on reading, and I'm going to go to kindergarten, and I'm going to choose fiction or nonfiction. So a lot of this has overlap, right, because they don't get super specific in K-1, but I'm going to go ahead and choose informational text, and I'm going to press go, and now I see my standard, and then I see skills. And here's my standard, and then my skills. So this standard says identify main topics, retell key details. So you've got writing in the margins, the who, what, where, when, why questions. You've got summarizing main ideas. You've got sequence and process organizer. So you've got this great support that you had when I was out there this past school year, but it wasn't designed this way. This resource existed, but it wasn't as user-friendly, and now it is. So not only do we have your standards in, but now you can choose your exact grade level, which is amazing, and your standards will change and update. Questions about this section while I read? I've got about 10 notes in the chat, so I just want to kind of skim those real quickly. If you have other questions, please write them in. Nikki, as far as timeline goes, I think we were chatting back and forth through email, and that we probably just got busy. Let's revisit that conversation and talk about timelines and see if that's even something we're able to do. Yeah, the three-step poster might be a bit too wordy for kindergarten. I can understand that. In fact, I'm going back through and updating some of our posters to make them more picture heavy instead of word heavy. So that might be something that we'll consider doing. Our fear, though, is that there's not enough explanation. But I think if the teacher's there explaining it, it's probably going to be okay. I'm responding to Joanna's comment. So I think that that's a great thing to think about, making even a different type of poster that is just focused on maybe the step and then the title of that step instead of all of the words that follow it. Oh, it looks like Joanna says that the Spanish handouts are already, the handouts are already translated. So, Joanna, why don't you send me an email so we can talk as well, and maybe include Nikki, and we can have that conversation. I would like to see that work, and if I haven't seen it, I hope I haven't. And then we can kind of talk about what that looks like, and how that's working, and if there's a space for it. So I think that that's good. And thank you for doing that. Oh, okay, that's what I thought. Right, Joanna. That's what I was thinking it was, but I didn't want to assume anything. Right. It's for the Spanish translation is for our secondary, so we haven't leveled it down yet to the younger grades. So that's something that I think we need to look at. Obviously, as a need in your district. So I would be interested in entertaining that idea. So we can talk more about that. Okay, so to recap, there's a couple of new things. We have tools now that are pulled out of our old Common Core section. The standards section is brand new, and I'm sure you'll want to play with that. And then when you go to the skill library and you see the writing center, we now have a drop-down for writing, which is just amazing. If you go to 2-3, if you happen to teach other grades or have taught other grades, there's going to be the drop-down for all the different grade levels as well. And it's good for you to just kind of take a look to see what's available. Right now we're mirroring K-1 and 2-3. We're doing the same writing types. But then when you get to 4-5, there's going to be a lot more, right? Because they're doing more, and the standards become more complex. So there's compare and contrast, research writing, cause and effect, problem solution, process or sequence. So going back into K-1, you'll have that drop down, and then this isn't all the writing resources, but it definitely is the majority of the ones that you're going to need to address your standards. As always, if there's ever anything you'd like us to consider adding, or something we've missed, or something you see as an issue, there's always a feedback button over on the left-hand side of every single web page, and you could just click on it. Opens up a text box, and you guys can tell us if you have a question or if you have a problem. If there's praise that you want to give us, then you would just type it in here, and then you would sum it up with a short title, press submit, and it's going to just take you right to where it's just going to send us an email, and we can try to improve whatever it is that we're working on or that you'd like to see improved. All right, so Carrie and I last year talked as you guys were, again, having some kind of, I think it was weather that was causing us some issues, and I think you guys had to use some of your PD time or some of your teacher time to make up days, or somehow, some way there was a shift in what we needed to do. And so it caused Carrie and I to think outside of the box and think about the kind of resources and support that we can provide going into the 2015-2016 school year. So what we decided to do was support all of the elementary schools in Chatham County with our school membership program. And the school membership program is similar to what you already have, but it adds so many other layers of support that I wanted to spend at least 15 minutes going over, because I think it's important for you guys to know, number one, what you have, and number two, how to use it and how to get yourselves involved in this. One of the things that we know is that I've been working, and Literacy Tea has been working with your district for quite a while. And what I've always wanted is just to kind of have a greater presence, because there's so much work that's been done over the years, and I want it to continue to grow and continue to take root. And sometimes we need more support than just a PD here and there or a workshop once in a while. That teachers need a bit more support in order to really implement something and use a program and feel confident about it. So school membership, which is on our agenda, is the next layer of support that we're offering you guys for 2015-2016. And what school membership is a way that Literacy TA is trying to gamify school culture and literacy skills across a campus. And when I say gamify, I mean trying to turn it into something that is a little bit more fun, a little bit more on the completing things and being rewarded for completing things, instead of it just being like, well, this is something I have to do. Oh, I forgot about it. This is something that I'll let my other colleagues do, but I'm not gonna do anything with it. And just try to bring the staff together and try to get them to commit to doing things together. And that doesn't mean that the programs that you have are gone. It doesn't mean that you have to use Literacy TA solely. It doesn't mean that writing programs that you find useful are now out. It just means that there's some things that I think are useful that if you do and are research-based will help your classroom and help your school. So for example, one of the things that teachers do as a school member is that they create an account at Literacy TA, which all of you do and all of you have. So one of the things that we find is challenging is a school might hear about Literacy TA, they go, oh yeah, we want Literacy TA, that's perfect. They bring it into their school and then no one logs in and no one creates an account. And so then they go all year and they haven't really touched the resources. So one of the things about school membership, one of the tasks is to create a TA account. A second one is to go to one of our free orientations. So I don't know if you guys know this or not, but we offer every week a free 30-minute orientation that we have live. It's not a recording, and we'll walk you through anything you want to learn about on the website, which is really great. So we can get people to go online, work with one of our coaches, and walk you through some aspect of it. If you want to learn about a certain handout or how you get access to something, we'll walk you through those resources, which is nice. So we want you to also go through an orientation. Now, many of you don't have the time to sit down for 30 minutes with someone, so we also have a self-directed orientation as well. So I'm going to share my screen because now I'm getting to the point where I need to kind of have some visual support and talk about this. Talk about the school membership. So if you want to learn more about the school membership, you can go into school-wide, and it's going to be in our sub-navigation under school membership. So you've got school-wide and then now school membership underneath that page. And what this is talking about is how we're passionate about teaching and how teachers are passionate about the work that they do. And we talk about making a commitment to excellence. That the goal for us as teachers is to try to commit every day to be the best we can. We know we're not going to be excellent every day, but at least we can try to improve in small steps. And as a member, you have a number of benefits, and then this roadmap is really the cornerstone or whatever metaphor you want to use, the backbone of the membership itself. So one of the things that we want to do is have you sign this pledge to excellence, and all of your grade level teachers are going to hear this today. This isn't anything scary. This is not you know, something that might sound like a cult or something, but really it just says, hey, we're going to commit every day to being the best teachers we can be. That's it. We're just committing to be the best teachers we can be and do the best we can. And it's easy to sign this because I think every day we wake up and do that. Every day we come to school trying to be the best we possibly can. But when you sign something and you put it up in your office and you know, put it up in your school office, I think it changes the game a little bit. It publicly says that this is something that I believe in. This is something that I am going to strive to do, and this is a commitment that I'm making publicly to be the best teacher that I can be, versus just kind of knowing it in your head. Yeah, I'm gonna every day. I try my best every single day, and we know that that's the case. But it kind of makes it changes the game. It changes the expectation. It changes the feeling a little bit when you make this pledge, because now there's some skin in the game, and you're a bit more invested in this work that you're doing. So what this academic roadmap is an outline of the things that we would like you to do as school members. So signing the pledge as a staff, not just as the K-1 grade band, but as a staff. All of your teachers signing this pledge and posting it in your school office. All teachers having access to TA and all teachers creating accounts, which I think many of you are already ahead of the game, right? Teachers attend a free TA orientation, which at this point you probably don't need it, but if you wanted to, you can definitely do that. I'm going to show you how to check these things off. Staff agrees to teach skills school-wide. See that? Staff agrees to teach skills school-wide on a certain skill. So if you're going for bronze, your school says we're going to teach, let's say, peer review school-wide. K to 5, K to 6, we're doing it. Or we're going to teach writing plans. All of our students are going to learn how to plan before they write. K to 5, K to 6. Here we go. Silver, you need to agree on 2 skills that you teach school-wide, and gold is 3. Teachers are going to submit work. So there's going to be a place online where you can upload student samples. And the only reason why we want you to do that is because we want other teachers to see what's happening in the classrooms. We want teachers to see the vertical articulation where you've got what does it look like in 3rd grade and what does it look like in 5th grade. And I'm a 1st grade teacher and I would love to see what this is looking like in 5th grade. And it gives you an opportunity to demonstrate that you are also teaching the skill that you guys agree upon. Display reading and writing posters. So making posters and putting them in your classrooms for a writing process. And I think that's the direction right now that we're all headed. So in your district, so I don't think if you want to do the reading posters, I think that's a great idea. But minimally, I think you need to put the writing posters in. And then we have an on-site literacy TA coordinator. Now this person has already been assigned, and it's going to be your coaches in your district. So coaches that are working with you currently, they're going to be the ones who are assigned to your school as your coach and as your literacy TA coordinator. And your literacy TA coordinator is just going to help you achieve the different parts of the achievement roadmap. And as you can probably see, there's nothing really outside of the box here that you are not either familiar with or aware that that's a good idea or a good step. So if I've done everything correctly, when you go into my account, so up here in the top of Literacy TA, you click My Account, you should see a school membership with a trophy. And when you click on your school, this should be your school name. When you click on your school, you're going to be taken to your school membership dashboard. You see all this? And what you guys are going to do is go through the different learning modules, and when they're done, there's a task. Sometimes it's a got it button. So like hang posters, let's say. I can click through the tutorial. Why is it important to hang posters that provide instructional support? What posters are you talking about? Where do I get them? What other posters do you have that I can maybe hang in my classroom? And that's it. And then I'm going to go ahead and put in the date that I hung my posters. Excuse me. And then I'm going to press save. So I'm going to click my date. I just learned about this, but I've got them done on the 15th of October. I'm going to press save. And you see now I have a check mark. And if I go back to my dashboard, I now have my posters hung and a little number 1 on my dial. So this now has been completed, hang posters. So some of you right now are now getting like, okay, where is he at? How did he get there? What is all this? Because now your level of concern is rising. So I'm going to go back just a couple of steps. anywhere on Literacy TA, there is a link that's called My Account. And you might not spend a lot of time there because we haven't had a lot to do in that section. But we're adding more and more as we go. So if you click on My Account, you should see your teacher assistant that you have. You should see you, and then a silhouette of you if you haven't uploaded a picture. And any teacher guides, we're going to start redoing the teacher guides, digital teacher guides, and then online trainings if you're involved in any of them, and then school membership. So you click on school membership and it takes you to a dashboard. And the dashboard is going to provide for you learning modules that mimic or mirror the achievement roadmap I showed you of that table with all the green check marks. So there's this share student work. And then there are the different learning modules that you would go through. And some of them are just got it buttons, like, oh yeah, I got it, I understand this, press got it. And others are giving us a date or telling us who it was that you worked with for an orientation. So Leanne, I see that. Did my going back through help, or do we need even more, a little bit more guidance with navigating? Yeah, and Nikki, every person has their own dashboard, and every person has their own module to go through. So even though the modules are the same, you guys can do them together. You absolutely can do them together. But the modules, you all have to have your individual check marks. And then as a school, you can watch your gauge grow. And the idea is to get the majority, 50% of you completing these tasks, 50% plus one to completing these tasks. And then you can achieve your bronze membership for the year, and we'll send you guys out an award for that work. Yeah, it's kind of right now, and we decided to wait until this meeting to talk to you guys about school membership. But typically this would happen like back to school days, and we have a staff development activity in the welcome that helps principals and school leaders walk staff through the school membership, and then there's an article that you would read about making small progress and making 1% gains, and just not trying to reinvent everything and not trying to throw everything out, but just making small changes. And then you sign the pledge. So you kind of are missing that context right now, Leanne, and that's okay. But the pledge itself is just another poster that you would print off of Literacy TA, and so you could see where on the right-hand side it says sign the pledge. This is for your literacy coach, your coaches in your district. So there's a module for them to learn about how to get you guys to sign the pledge. So you see teachers here signing this pledge. And we want this to be fun, right? We want you guys to commit to this. We want you guys to rally behind each other, support each other, even take a picture of you guys signing it. And then this is the tutorial about the pledge, what it is, where to get it, why we want you to sign it, what it means, where to put it, and then this is the activity, and then the Literacy TA pledge. Now, this is like I said, this is going to be for your coordinator to keep track of. But if you guys want to step up and do it, I mean, by all means, you don't have to wait for anyone to do this work. So you would sign the pledge, and you would post this somewhere in your school, preferably in your main office, because that's where parents and you and everyone's coming and going, and it's just a good reminder of this, or put it in your staff lounge. And again, the pledge is something just simple. We commit every day to being the best teachers we can be, the best friends we can be, the best family members that we can be, and that we are going to improve. Every opportunity that we can find to improve, we're going to look for that opportunity, and we're going to make steps towards growth. And that's it. There's nothing weird, nothing strange. no weird commitments that you're like staying up at night wondering, why did I make that commitment? Just something fun for you guys to do. And you can read all about it when you go, if you go through the tutorial if you want to. And then there's the welcome tutorial. So the welcome tutorial kind of brings you up to speed on everything. What school membership is, how to be successful as a school member, what a coordinator does, like what are their roles, and then when you've got it, you just press the got it button, and then you get a green check. So going back to Nikki's question, everyone would go through this welcome. Everyone would click through and learn about it. Now, if you do it as a grade group, a grade team, then that's fine. What you would do is you would put it on the screen, walk through together, and then all of you would go into your own accounts and you would press got it individually. So you go into my account, you would click your school membership, you would go to your welcome, and then at the bottom of the welcome is going to say got it. See it right there? And then you're just going to click it. You get a check. Your coordinator is updated that you've done the welcome. Your gauge updates. Everything updates. So if I reset and if I refresh, let's see if my gauge updates. Yeah, see how it has a number 2. So this is a training. This is a training module. You guys don't have 2 teachers in your school, obviously, or 3. But this is what the page looks like. So how many people have done it? Who's done it? When did they do it? And there's 2 out of the 3 who have done it. So once I go through the welcome, which is this here, and then if you wanted to read through the 10 steps to being successful, you come down here and you press got it, right? When I go out, my school membership welcome should say 3, and it does. So now all of my teachers have gone through this welcome. And what this does is it's not only just things for you guys to do as a staff, but it educates you on what is good practices for teaching, what sorts of things can we do to be successful as a unit, and then you go through them and do them. Hanging posters, using your online resources, collecting student samples, reflecting on work. All these things are good teaching practices that support your growth, but we've put it in a way that's kind of like a game. And depending on what you want to do, so if I go back to school-wide, and, well, actually, let me keep you in there because you'll learn about it in there. So if you go into your school membership, and we look at roles and goals, you guys as a staff should decide after today, do we want it to be a bronze school, do we want to do silver, or do we want to do gold? And each one of these has different requirements, right? They have different requirements. So then your coordinator is going to choose. We chose bronze. We're an elementary school. We're going to focus on the skill of marking. Let's do writing. So we're going to focus on a skill of maybe I don't know. We can do informational text writing. We're going to practice twice a year. You could practice once a year and submit. You could practice 3 times a year and submit. So all of this is going to be learning that you guys do together. This is going to be, like I said earlier, another layer of support for you guys as you move forward with this. It's going to pull you more together. It's going to get you more focused on the work that you're doing. It's going to hold more of you accountable in the sense that, well, I did it this month, but I didn't do it that month, and your staff's going to say, but we need to submit student samples, so we need to do it at this time because that's when we said we were going to do it. So it allows you guys to kind of create that cohesiveness that sometimes gets missed when you do something school-wide. And again, this is not a K-1 responsibility. It's your whole staff's responsibility. It's different. It's not going to be a certain group who has to be responsible. Everyone becomes responsible. But we've made these tasks manageable. We've made these things very manageable for you so you don't feel overwhelmed. The last thing we want to do is put a bunch of extra work on you. All we're trying to do is take the work that you're doing, like teaching specific writing skills from Literacy TA, looking at those and seeing how they helped kids. We're just trying to gamify that for you so that it's a little bit more fun and that there's some places that you can show growth and record and feel good about the things that you're doing and see the things that you're doing work. So that's what this is about. How does it tie into the writing? Well, it ties in perfectly, because when you guys decide on the skills that you're going to teach school-wide, now you can teach many things school-wide, but when you guys decide on the skills you're going to teach school-wide, that's going to have to be a discussion that you have as a staff. Are we all in with peer review, or are we all in with writing plans? Are we all in with editing marks? Like, what is it that you guys are going to do school-wide that you can bank on that kids are going to get at every grade level? Now you are much more advanced now than your coaches, because I just barely, when I met with them last month, introduced this to them. So do me a favor and don't panic and go talk to them, because they're probably not going to know what you're talking about. They they know just a little bit about this. You know much, much more than they do. So there's going to be a training that I do with them that's going to support you. But that's not to say you guys can't get started with this. And I'm going to give you some time, and I'm not leaving. I'm going to be here. But I'm going to give you about 20 minutes of this training to work with your colleagues to do one of two things. You can either A, explore your school membership, or B, you can work together to finalize or start or continue a writing lesson. So if you guys are in the middle of a writing lesson, you can talk about what sorts of things you're already doing with Literacy TA. If you want to start one, you can jump in with the standards or jump in with the writing prompt builder, or you can kind of finalize it. So something to do with planning writing, or something to do with going through your membership, your school membership. So one of those two things. And as I've done in the past, I'm going to be here. I'm just going to mute my microphone so that you don't hear anything, me typing or whatever. But you guys are going to work at your school sites right now for the next 20 minutes, and then I'll sign off with you. You guys are just going to work either on school membership or a writing plan, and then you can ask me questions via chat, or you can unmute your mic and just speak directly to me. So that's where we are right now. If there's any questions, you guys can go ahead and get started, and I'll try to help anywhere I can if you guys have questions about school membership or the writing process. I'm sure many of you have been watching the craziness on the screen as I write. This is something that I do with my students almost every day in live situations. I say things and then I start thinking, boy, it would be really nice to have some sort of visual support. And I start creating either instructions or directions or provide some sort of visual tutorial, jump into Google Slides and bring in some images of what I'm asking them to do. So this is normal. What you just saw me do is something that is a part of my teaching practice every day. So as I was talking to you, I thought maybe there's going to be some follow-up questions or clarification, some way I can help them. And so I just put together on the bottom of our agenda some of the planning pieces that I wanted you guys to work on. And that was the school membership tasks, and or moving your plan forward with writing. So these are the things that I was thinking about that could be useful. But one of the things I want to stick on before I leave you today is the school membership, and that it's not something else to do. Please do not hear me say that now after this morning we have all this stuff that we have to do that wasn't part of the training before. This is all part of the delivery, the implementation. I can't tell you how many times we train and you have been in trainings and you feel like there needs to be some follow-up, there needs to be some support after I get back into my classroom and long after the training is over. I want to stay connected to something. And for me as a trainer and as a teacher, I feel like a lot of times we lose momentum because there's a piece missing, there's a support structure that isn't there. And that's what school membership is for you, is that support structure. There's nothing here that we're asking you to do that is outside of the work that you've already done. There's nothing here that we're asking you to do that causes you too much additional work. There's some additional work, but the pieces are so quick that you can get them done in a very reasonable amount of time. I'm talking 5 to 10 minutes instead of like an hour or 2 hours or something crazy. And then the submitting student work, that's just going to be part of that continuous staff development and support that's so good for you and so good for your kids and so good for your colleagues as you guys try to work together and align these skills. So I don't want you hearing, and I know sometimes it's hard to not hear this, that what I just presented to you is a bunch of extra work, because it's really not designed that way, and I hope that you see it for what it is, which is a fun way to engage all of you in the same thing and move you guys toward a common goal. That's the whole premise of this. So I think our time is up. It has been an hour and a half, believe it or not. And what the rest of your day looks like, I'm not sure, but I'm sure you guys will be working in teams and maybe having some more professional development. But I wanted to thank you guys. Thank you for using the chat today. You guys were very communicative there. I appreciate the feedback. I apologize if things are not going as quickly in the Spanish translation world as some of you would like, and I hope that you're seeing us make a real concerted effort to improve. There's a lot of companies out there in education who are not trying to improve or not giving the kind of resources that teachers need. And as a teacher, it's very, very important to me and my company that we give you exactly what you're looking for within reason, if we can pull it off, and support you in the ways that make your life easier, give you great things to do with kids, and above all, support the work that you do to improve student achievement. So that's our goal, and that's our mission, and we do it through teaching, speaking, reading, and writing skills. So I appreciate you guys. I appreciate your time. Hopefully I'll be able to get out there sometime this year. I'm not exactly sure, and the way weather is, it's just kind of crazy. So be safe this fall and winter. Continue to do great work with your kids, and I will see you hopefully sooner than later. Just know that you can always go back to this recorded broadcast and look at certain things that we talked about, rewind, fast forward, and you can share it with your colleagues who might have missed today. So thank you very much. I'll wait just about 30 seconds before signing off, and you guys will have the rest of the day. Thanks very much.